Greetings and salutations, and welcome to episode 198 of Ref the District. I'm Nathan. That's Stoner. That's Trev. It's a full house here on episode 198, and we are going to be talking about all sorts of great things. So we'll be talking about the Steelers game in the cool down. Right now, Washington is at negative 2.5 over the Steelers right now. Money line negative 146. This is, of course, all according to Bet Online, where you can get your up-to-date information and from the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. Earliest odds from in-game live betting provides you with all the action and ability to watch the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, college basketball, NHL to UFC and MMA. Head to Bet Online today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. Bet Online, the game starts here. For the game for us, we're going to be talking about Lattimore, the trade, how it's going to improve the team. We've got a lot of great people already talking about it in the chat here. Locked on Law, Luis, P&W, Uptown Dre, ATA Custom Painting, all coming in early and having a discussion on that point. We'll be doing our discussion with a Trevor News Network coming to you in the game session, where he's going to update you on what the trade was and also the current injury report. And here in the warm-up, let's revel in the fact that the Washington Commanders swept the New York Giants. Jayden Daniels being the first rookie to start two games and beat the Giants ever. What can't that man do? So it's a giant sweep. Of course, we had our very own Stoner up there.
Yeah.
In enemy territory.
Yep.
How'd that go?
Yeah, it was a really good time. Headed up to New York City for the weekend. Enjoyed it. I love New York City, but I love visiting New York City. I would never, ever want to live there, but it's a lot of fun going up there for the entire weekend. And let me tell you, MetLife Stadium, that place is a dump. I know it's only about maybe 10 years old, maybe 15 years old. It's a fairly new stadium.
Wow.
It could not be more plain, more average. It's Northwest Stadium, northeast of here, right? It's not, there's nothing special about it. The video boards are kind of small. It's very cookie cutter. There's just nothing about it. I didn't like it. Transportation getting there was awesome though. We just took a train. A train will take you right in front of the stadium. I mean, directly in front of the stadium.
Nice.
So that part is really nice. But yeah, it's always nice. You guys probably feel the same way when you get to go to a game, which we don't get to go to every game, right? We only
right.
a year, maybe something like that. You get to take in everything that you don't normally get to when you're watching on TV, right? Because you only see what the TV gives you.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas you're at the game, you get to experience everything, and you have a full, almost 360-degree view of everything that's going on, and you're not gone during commercial breaks. You're still watching everything, right? Mm-hmm. And so that part for me, I don't know if you guys feel that same. It just sort of, it draws you in closer to the team, to the fellas, to the crowd, to the vibe, to the whole feeling of being a part of this fandom and this organization. And there were a gazillion Commanders fans there. Ran into Rally Captain, said hello to him for but it was just a lot of fun. And on the field, I was able to kind of see a couple of things, right? Defensively, I know this is kind of almost sacrilegious having what just happened yesterday, but this defense needs an edge rusher in the worst way. They need an edge rusher more than they needed a corner. But I love the pick of Lattimore, don't get me wrong. Dante Fowler's been great, hasn't he? Right? And he's got sacks and a touchdown and all that, right? But they need an edge rusher in the worst way. When Daniel Jones can stand back there in the second half, not the first step. When he can stand back there and pick this defense apart, right? I mean, that spells trouble down the road when you've got guys like Jalen Hurts and potentially like a Kirk Cousins. Well, you are playing Kirk Cousins, but potentially Jared Goff, right? Guys like that, they're going to tear this defense apart because we don't get enough pressure on the quarterback.
Which is weird because the stats actually show that the pressures are coming. And
You're right.
I haven't taken a deep dive into the all 22 to kind of compare it, but it does seem like Washington's pressuring. The problem I've seen is they're not finishing, right? And that's where not all pressures are equal. So you might have chased him out of the pocket, but not everybody's Caleb Williams who's going to keep holding on to that ball, right? Like you mentioned, and a Kirk Cousins who will sit in the pocket. He at least is savvy enough to get rid of the ball before that pressure gets to him. So the pressure thing, my second most important position is a guy who gets after the quarterback.
You should be backing me on this then.
Is a guy who gets after the quarterback. Well, I've been saying that since the start of free agency. In the draft, I was like, we need a draft one. And and we did get Johnny Newton, and he was a big kind of no-show, I would say, on that against the defensive line for us and offensive line for the Giants, who's injured. They didn't get nearly as much pressure or sacks as they should have against a line that was really beat up and missing some of the key pieces. So I do agree with you there, but it's kind of interesting hearing it coming from you.
Yeah.
Who, you get to see it and you see it live. I mean, we saw Daniel Jones. I mean, he was in the second half. In the first half, he was abysmal. Right. 0 yards. He was bad. Right. But in the second half, he starts opening it up a little bit. He still didn't have a great day by any means, but he was making passes because he either had the time or he was, getting out there to be able to make those passes. So that wasn't a great feeling. Yeah, that was Daniel Jones.
Yeah, that's
Danny Dimes.
So we're gonna have problems down the road. A good edge rusher makes your corners better, but I'm not so sure that a good corner makes your edge rushers better. See what I'm saying? So we'll see. I'm not poo-pooing on the trade. I'm just saying that.
I mean, it kind of sounds like you're poo-pooing on the trade.
This team.
I mean, we haven't even got a chance to talk about what happened. You're already moving on to the next thing we need to fix. That was not even.
No, come on.
We haven't even addressed what's been fixed already, but now you want to move on to what else needs to be fixed.
I'm just saying we're going to kind of look back on that and we're going to see something.
So this point here from Locked On Law. I mean, and there was another one. Tommy T with Trey Hendrickson, #1 in sacks. Bengals D's not that great. You got
we're gonna be okay.
Locked On Law mentioning that the Giants led the leagues in sacks coming into this game. 0 sacks against Jayden Daniels.
Okay, all right. Let's see what TJ Watt does this weekend. All right,
it is going to be interesting. Brandon Coleman. We'll talk about that later. Okay. That one we're going to have Mark Burgeon with us, and we'll talk about that later.
Let me go to the other side though, real quick, if I might. I had 2 quick observations. Is on the offensive side, and I know this. I'm not breaking news over here, right? But of course, I'm watching Jayden Daniels 24/7 when I'm out there, right? Everything that he does, and it's stunning to me. Excuse the pun, but how much command he has with this offense. It was stunning to watch it in person, right? To watch him get the play, get everybody lined up, look at the defense, understand what he's going to do, and then execute it perfectly. Whether it's a downfield pass or a short pass or an RPO or a simple handoff, watching him change plays, watching everything about him. Right? It was a pleasure to watch Jayden Daniels play football. I'm just saying that right now. In person, it's even better than watching it on TV. The second thing, and the last thing, second thing on offense, and the last thing, right? What Cliff Kingsbury is doing with this offensive line and this offensive play calling also is mind-blowing to see it in person. To see this offensive line going this way and that way and this way and blowing people off the ball and 3 guys going that way and 4 guys going this way and max protecting, having 7 guys protecting the quarterback, 2 people going out on the route and having 1 guy just completely wide open. The offensive line, we've been giving them a ton of credit. We're not giving them enough credit. The offensive line was amazing to watch as well. And how you brought it up, Nathan, whoever said that, I think it was Locked On. The Giants came in leading the league in sacks, and they touched Jayden Daniels twice the whole game. And one of them was questionable, probably should have been a late hit or, roughing the quarterback. So those are my observations having seen it in person. It's even better when you see it in person offensively what this team is doing. And there's all the stats to back it up. But I was blown away just how efficient and cool and calm and precise and all of those adjectives about this offense. It was an absolute pleasure to watch them in person.
Yeah, I like this here from Dave G Comedy. Cliff out there playing Madden with JD. And I mean, it does feel that way sometimes because it's the same formations, but different routes being run. It is the up tempo where they're not huddling. They're just getting to the line. They might not deliver the ball to JD right away, but they're making sure, hey, you're not going to be able to sub out. And then they're just moving. They'll have 13 personnel, one running back, 3 tight ends, and then they'll just find something to do with them. It's insane how this one really is.
It is, and like I said, it was a pleasure to see it. And every play, they never huddle. And I know we talk about it and we see it on TV and all this stuff, but again, to see it in person of them never huddling. Except for after, commercial breaks or whatever, TV timeouts. Throughout the course of a drive, they never huddle. And everybody has complete understanding of what their role is and what they have to do. And everything's coming together, and I don't know how to handle it because it's just, right? Everything is coming together. You know what I mean? It's like this perfect storm is happening with this team right now because everything is so good.
Exciting time.
Who had the easiest schedule at the beginning of the year? Washington was in the top 5 of easiest schedules, right? Because of your 4th place schedule is one big reason. Those 3 teams that they played differently than everyone else in the division, the 4th place teams, Chicago, Tennessee, and Arizona, right? So those aren't good teams, right? Then you have the travel schedule. They travel the least amount of any team in the entire NFL this year. And it's not even close, too. They had, since they went to Arizona, how long ago was that?
Yeah.
It was week 4.
They haven't been on an airplane since then. And they won't be for another couple of weeks because they're at home this weekend. Then they go to Philly. So they're going to be on a train to Philly. And Dallas is at home the next one, or is Dallas?
Yep, Dallas is at home. Then it's Titans at home. So it's not until December 15th at the Saints.
That's when they get on a plane again from whenever week 4 was in September. They're going like 3 months without being on an airplane. So all these things keep coming. And then
September
some of the
29th,
things,
by the way.
Some of the things they're doing themselves, but again, it's magical. It's obviously the efficiency of the offense, but 3 turnovers in 9 games, which hasn't been done in 100 years.
Yeah.
Close to 100.
Since like the 30s, 1930s. Yeah.
It's all coming together. And I'm here for it, but I don't know what to do with that information because
so kind of one of the things here that Trev and I were talking about, and I don't know if Trev still feels this way, but it kind of felt that the entire game, like it was a win. I don't want to say meh, right, Trev? But it was like business as usual, right? It was just like, okay, yeah, we're the better team, and we're gonna do what we want against them. there's a little bit of this late push from the Giants, and maybe they'll get, maybe they'll make this a game type deal. But there was no real concern, and you knew whenever Jayden Daniels had the ball, like they were going to do good things. Some insane stats coming out about this offense. You mentioned the turnover one being there. I had shared one a little bit ago. Let's see if I can't find it and our deal there. 49% from, according to Warren Sharp, 49% of drives reach the red zone. Okay. That's number one in the NFL since 2000. 61% of drives score points. That's also number one in the NFL since at least 2000.
In 25 years.
Yeah. And at least, because I imagine it's hard to get those stats for some of these over there. He says, and guess what? Over 50% of the teams in the top 10 in percentage of drives to reach the red zone through week 9 made the Super Bowl that year.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy what's going on out there. And being at that game, Nathan, also, you said it was, it was kind of a mad game. It was business as usual.
Very business.
Never once did I feel like Washington did not have total control, and they were going to easily win this game. Never did I think that. I always felt that Washington had full control of the game, even when they came down
140 yards rushing in the first half.
I never felt that because, look, this offense has gone from Terry's down there somewhere to anything is possible with JD5 back there. As long as you've got Jayden Daniels back there, you're never out of a game. Ask Chicago about that. And you always feel like you have a chance to win the game regardless of what's going on.
Well, I wasn't at the game, Metaphor. He's a Metaphor in here. I was at the Giants game. Stoner was there, by the way. And he says, Metaphor says, my son got a ball from Jayden in warmups. That must have been the happiest kid. I feel bad for you, Metaphor. What are you going to get the kid for Christmas that's going to pop a ball from Jayden Daniels? There's nothing. Like there's nothing you're going to be able to get from him. I feel bad for you, but that's pretty cool experience. Trev, it was 140 yards rushing in the first half. However, it was also 0 passing yards. So, I mean, the defense did hold the Giants to 7 points, got a turnover, and 140 yards. I think it was 142 yards of total offense. I know the run defense was kind of porous, but overall, do you feel pretty good about that as a defensive performance in a first half? 7 points, 142 yards. I mean, that sounds pretty good when you say it that way.
It does when you say it that way. It sounds like we did the job to get off the field on third down a lot. It sounds like they ran the ball awfully lot to get that total in what, 24 minutes or the 30 minutes, 15-minute quarters. So, yeah, it means they were just running.
They were too.
Yeah, they might have gashed on first and second down or first down here or second down here, but they didn't result in the points. And luckily, Daniel Jones is the quarterback, and they can't finish good drives like that. Because there was one point where their drive was like, almost 10 minutes long, I think, in the first half. They ran the ball over 20 times, I think, in the second quarter or something like that. So, and you thought, for me personally, I thought at that time, they've got a game plan to keep JD5 off the field.
Sure.
And if that continues to happen, then they're going to win this game. But
the problem is every time Jayden Daniels gets the ball, they score.
Exactly.
And eventually you got to abandon the run and try and play catch up.
Our defense was bending a lot in the first half. We never broke. And then Jayden Daniels, I don't know what it is with Cliff Kingsbury as well in this, but let's say like our less than 2-minute offense is ridiculous.
Yeah.
I mean, we throw a Hail Mary, then we score a touchdown with 20 seconds left or 12 seconds left in the first half to go up 21-7, I think, or 14-7.5, something like that, whatever it was. Like, it's just insane. So, yeah, I don't mind about the 140 rushing yards first quarter as long as they don't result in points and as long as, the defense doesn't break.
The good thing for it, sorry there, Stoner. I mean, Locked on Lawn, I know a lot of other people felt this way as well. New York should have kept running the ball. Well, the problem is you're down 21-7.
Yeah.
You had to change it up. You can't keep running the clock like that. And you can't. And that was a brilliant thing for Washington. Now they kind of came out the second half, 3 and out. That wasn't the way you wanted to do it. You should have been piling on some more points. But they put the Giants in a position where they couldn't keep going against a weakness because they're down too many points, which is what you want to see. It's what they failed to do in week 2 against the Giants.
Right.
For a game where they didn't punt at all.
Right.
But all they settled for were field goals. So that was, it was nice to see them score touchdowns. It was unfortunate that they gave up passing touchdowns to Daniel Jones in MetLife, which he hasn't done all season, hasn't done it in more than a season. Authentic had said it was forever.
Yeah.
Right. And so, but
2 years.
Yeah. So I think the defense did well. They did their job holding Daniel Jones, because anytime they went to pass it, they weren't doing anything in that first half. And you're all calling for it. We're like, just let Daniel Jones try to throw it. I mean, he was beating them in the second half with those throws. Now we'll talk about why that might change later, but it was a good thing, I think, for Washington. 2 punts over the course of this sweep, by the way. That was it. 2 whole punts.
That's wild.
And what stood out to me also is the contributions from guys you don't normally get contributions from. That De'Ami Brown catch and run at the end of towards the end of that first half that allowed them to get down there. That was 3rd and 14, 18, right? Yeah. And not only does he catch it, but he makes a guy miss, and then he uses his speed. And De'Ami Brown is going to end up having a career year. He's already right at his number, his highest catch number for his entire career. Ben Sinnott with a real nice play. I Bleav that was a 4th. I think that was 3rd or 4th down. I can't remember. And
it would have been 3rd. They did go for it on 4th, but that wasn't that play.
Okay, and then C-Rod, of course, in the 4th quarter was just mowing people over, and these are, you're talking about tight end 3, you're talking about wide receiver 5, and you're talking about RB 4 doing these things, helping this team. Just knowing their role, staying ready.
Squad running back, not just running back 4, but practice squad running back.
And C-Rod didn't even know he was playing until an hour before the game, and he still is obviously ready to go and does what he did. And like I said, De'Ami and on defense, Chin really stood out to me in this game. He was flying all over the field.
12 tackles by the team.
He had how many?
He led the team in tackles. He had 13 total tackles, 7 solo, 2 for a loss, and a pass defense.
Yeah. So it was a really fantastic team win. I love everything they're doing offensively. Obviously, I can't even stop talking about what they're doing, and they're helping themselves, especially with the Giants, with this sort of defense that they had that was a leading the league in sacks. Almost every single time that JD was dropping backs or receivers or tight ends were chipping those edge guys just enough to get
C-Rod had a really good one there late in the game as well.
Yeah, he did.
On that final drive where he just got in there. I think it was Burns who he got redirected. He was able to keep upright and go after JD, but C-Rod did exactly what he needed to do to extend that play just enough for Jayden Daniels to get the ball out.
And De'Ami on his catch, he chipped first. He was back there in the slot, took a step, chipped the guy, then popped out. And of course, nobody saw him because he was in the backfield, and they figured he was staying in the block. And then he pops out, and he's got all this room. Make one guy miss and get in the open space and do your thing. And man, it was although 27-22 is not is a little too close for comfort for some.
Yeah, it's not a sexy
Never
score.
felt threatened. Never felt threatened. And it was a very enjoyable game.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple different things here before we move on from this. Tommy T mentioning the other stat that I was trying to find. Thank you for this one, Tommy. The offense is averaging 42.5 yards per drive. That's the highest average in weeks 1 through 9 this millennium, per the Washington Commanders, Tommy says here. And metaphor, to answer your question, he's going to wear number 36. The team released that earlier today. In case you weren't aware, C-Rod was wearing 23, but he had to give that number up. And we'll be talking about why he gave up that number here in the game. Stick with us. Welcome to the game here on episode 198 of Ref the District. Washington Commanders with a pretty big move. And to tell you that, we got a little Trev teeing in.
For all your Commanders news and notes, it's the TNN. Here's Trev.
All right, Trev, hit us with the deets on this Marshon Lattimore trade.
Yeah, so the trade happened around between 12 and 2 yesterday afternoon, cutting it close to the trade deadline, kept us all wondering all weekend, we're going to make a move. Nah, Adam Peters isn't like that. He wants to build through the draft. No, Adam Peters is aggressive. We're in win now mode. He's going to go get somebody. That's what it was all weekend. And sure enough, he pulled the trigger and got the deal done. We have received cornerback standout Marshon Lattimore from the New Orleans Saints. And we had to give up a lot to get the man, but hopefully it was worth it. I think it was worth it, but we'll get to that right now, the details. So the Saints, we gave them a 3rd-round pick, a 4th-round pick, and the 6th-round pick that we got through the John Ridgeway trade earlier this season. We gave that back to them, and we got Marshon Lattimore and a 5th-round pick from the Saints. Now, it sounds like a lot from, bird's eye view, but realistically, it's not. We had 9 first-round or 9 picks in the draft that's coming up in 2025 draft, so we had a couple extra ones to spare, and we did. So we got a 3rd-rounder for the Jahan Dotson trade, but we already had our own, so we gave our own to the Saints. But the one that we got for Jahan Dotson is a 72 pick, and the one we gave away, I think, was like a number 90 pick. So, we actually moved up in the 3rd round by giving away a 3rd-round pick, which is crazy. And we give away that 4th-round pick, too. We still have 7 picks left in the draft. And I trust Adam Peters with the draft. He's proven it so far. So if he says we have enough and he feels comfortable with 7 picks in the draft, I'm listening to him. Obviously, it worked. And we got ourselves a dog in Marshon Lattimore. Now, he does have a hamstring injury. He's missed 2 games. He said it just happened in his little media scrum after practice today. He did go to practice. He just watched from the sideline. I don't know if you guys saw it. I think John Kine posted it. Or no, Sam Fortier posted it first, I think. He was on the sideline working with BSJ on some technique stuff, going over with that. And I tweeted that out and said he's already getting to work. He'd love to see it, which is cool because some new guys come in and stand on the sidelines and chit-chat, but they don't really interact with players like that on the football side of things. They might just be sitting there watching, doing some stretching, and then talking to their immediate coach, their position coach or whatever. But he was out there working with BSJ on the side, so you'd love to see that. Yeah, we got ourselves a dog, guys. He's a true cornerback 1, 4-time Pro Bowler, tied for 2nd in the league with PBUs since 2017. Mm-hmm. That's about 8 years ago. So we got
still
ourselves
young.
a dog. He's still young, 28. Yeah. Mm-hmm. He's missed 19 games over the last 2 seasons, though, so there's a little injury concern. But hey, that same injury concern came with Noah Brown, and look what he's doing now. So I'm kind of not really upset about that. And plus, I trust the front office and DQ and everybody. If they thought the injury was that serious, they probably wouldn't have brought him in or gave away as much to bring him in. So I look for him to play Sunday. If not Sunday, definitely next Sunday.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a long-term one, and that was something that you can see there. The contract for Lattimore goes another 2 seasons. Although it's not guaranteed money, there's going to be some goodness there. Hopefully he does match well with the team. We have seen cornerbacks come here to Washington and not really mesh with the team. But I think Joe Witt Jr. knows what he's doing, so I have good faith in him. Let's talk about that injury real quick here. Stoner is from JG here. Is Lattimore being unfairly labeled as injury prone? 19 games over the last 2 seasons.
Well, I think it's fair to say that in terms of he has had some injury issues in the last 2 years, but look at his numbers from the previous years when he's only missing, I think he missed a total of 4 games in the 4 previous seasons. And I think he missed 1 game this year too, so you got to count that one. But injury prone is usually somebody who misses a bunch of games every year. And this is just something that's happened in the last couple of years. Is it a concern? I mean, absolutely. Anytime you have a soft tissue injury, that's always a concern. So, and the hamstring is exactly that. So it is a concern, but I don't think there's any sort of risk in this because you have, first of all, you didn't get a 1-year rental. This is not a guy who's just going to be here for 1 year. He's under contract for another 2 years after this. And at the same time, those 2 years are not guaranteed for the Commanders. So this couldn't be friendlier to the Commanders. If he works out, great. You've got him for 2 years at $18.5 million a year. If he doesn't work out, you cut him and there's nothing hurt against your salary cap. So it's a win-win. And so that's why maybe they gave up those draft picks that they did. Although I don't have any problem with the draft picks. Like Trev said, that 3rd rounder they gave up is their own 3rd rounder. With the way things are going, let's just put a number on it. Let's say it's the 25th pick. Okay, that's it. Or later, right? 25th, 26th, 27th, somewhere around there. They keep the original
you're looking at pick like 85 is where I think where it maths out.
Yeah, but I mean 25th of the round.
Yeah,
the 3rd round.
Yeah.
And I'm saying I'm trying to, for other people, I'm trying to give them the visualization that it is going to be in like the 80s in that range.
Yeah.
But they kept the one that they got, as Trev said, the one that they got from Philly for Jahan Dotson, which is Miami's pick.
Yeah.
That's who Philadelphia got from Miami. So it's where Miami finishes. And Miami is not doing well this year. So that could be a top 10 of the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Right. So they kept that one. But they give up basically almost a 4th rounder, right? That 3rd rounder is going to be so late. Let's hope it's the 32nd pick of the 3rd round, which means you won the Super Bowl, right? And then the 4th that they gave up, right, is Washington's 4th.
Yeah.
Way down at the end of the 4th round. So it's basically a 5th.
Yeah. But they're getting the 5th from the Saints, who are now tanking, which means that's practically a 4th.
It's basically the same thing. Those are a wash.
Yeah.
Because of that 5th you get back from the Saints, which might be a top 2 pick. Right. And then ours is going to be a bottom 2 of the previous round. So it's basically a pick swap there. And then you had that 6th rounder, which you had given up in a previous trade. I don't remember how they lost the 6th rounder, but then they got it back by trading John Ridgeway. So essentially, you're trading Marshon Lattimore for Jahan Dotson, John Ridgeway, and a late 3rd rounder, early 4th rounder, basically.
Yep.
For Marshon Lattimore. You do that 100 times out of 100 times.
Seems pretty good to me.
Seems like a good trade.
We'll take it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So, Trev, you kind of touched a little bit on this when you're giving us your news update on it. This Washington, we're buyers. Adam Peters went out. He was making phone calls, and I felt strongly about this. I answered a couple Ask Nathans on the trade thing. Washington 7-2. They see a window now. This team is jiving. They're vibing. Their things are going well, and in that case, you need to shore up a weakness. We knew that was the cornerback room was one of them. There's several, and you're not going to be able to fix all of them. But the fact is they knew, hey, our window is now to start improving the team, right?
Yeah.
This isn't let's wait and see, and then we'll do some things. We have an opportunity right now to be one of the top seeds in the NFC and to challenge people. And they went out and they got someone for a good price to help shore things up. Now let's talk about how Marshon Lattimore fits into this team.
Mm-hmm.
and where we see him. Obvious cornerback one, Trev, right?
Yeah. Yep. Mm-hmm.
But as Josh is asking here, is this less pressure now on Benjamin St. Juice now that Lattimore is here?
Yes, 100%. Yes. BSJ for the past season or two has been acting like cornerback one for us due to his size and his pretty much his size and range and everything. But now we have a true cornerback one. BSJ is a cornerback two. Dan Quinn said today that they're looking for Marshon to be more versatile in this defense, which I think is great. So he can play zone, he can play man, he can play slot, he can do everything. They interviewed BSJ after practice today, and BSJ is ecstatic because he's pretty much said Marshon Lattimore can cover half of the field and let the other guys on the other side do our own thing and do our thing and get after it. So this opens up the defensive playbook for Joe Witt. It allows our safeties to come down the box a little bit more. Don't have to worry about expending guys, trying out guys in different spots just to make it work because we don't have what we need to have in order to make it work. But now that we do, you hear reports saying that maybe Mikey Sandstrom could go back in the slot where he was slotted to play before the season started. Noah, Big
Big Benatagini.
We got that name down now.
Oh, I nailed it now. Yeah.
He's been playing a little bit of slot now. Maybe he can turn back into that depth piece that we thought he would be at the beginning of the season, but he turned into a starter just because of lack thereof. And then you can just open it up. You can let the run defense be a little bit better too now that you got somebody to cover the back end or help cover the back end. He's going to travel with the wide receiver ones all the time. I personally think, though, they shouldn't shy away with this whole depending on the opponent who plays where, because now we can be more versatile and that can allow the defense to really expand and open up and try some new things that Joe Witt's probably really wants to do. Because they did that with Forbes. They played Forbes this game, but didn't play him against the Ravens because they this and that, and they didn't start. They started Mikey on the outside because of this receiver or this team or this game plan. So I think that they don't really have to do necessarily as much as that, but they shouldn't totally shy away from that because now this defense can be what Joe Witt and Dan Quinn probably really wanted it to be from the beginning.
And they absolutely already said that they didn't want to give up too much of the information, but they said Marshon Lattimore, who has predominantly played on the right side of the field. I think it's like mid 80s, 85% or so on the right side of the field. They said that's not going to happen here, but they're not going to get too much into the details. So they are going to have some fun with this. Now, hot take, gents. Okay. Yeah. Everyone's talking about Mikey moving back to the inside.
Yeah.
Mikey's been playing pretty dang on well on the outside. What would you say to keeping Sanistril as cornerback 2 on the outside and figuring out what to do with Benjamin St. Juice or Noah as your slot?
I don't like it. I like Mikey Sanistril. I don't like his size for an outside cornerback, especially within our division. I know he would have to at some point line up against AJ Brown, and that's not going to turn out great. He's going to have to line up against CeeDee Lamb probably, and that won't turn out great. He bites a lot. He gets broken down a lot. They saw his tape from him playing in the slot. They drafted him as high as he did because he played in the slot, and he was a starter on this team because of his experience and his production in the slot pretty much. Yeah, he's been serviceable on the outside, but that's because we didn't have another true cornerback 1 to cover the outside with BSJ. I think our staff knew BSJ was a cornerback 2 or 3, but they knew that on this team he was cornerback 1, so they had to treat him as so. And now that we have a cornerback 1, Mikey and BSJ can go back to their comfort levels and the reason why they're on this team in the first place.
Yeah, I probably agree with that for the most part. Sanderson's not a big dude, right? Imagine him going up against AJ Brown because the other team can scheme matchups properly offensively. They can do that.
I mean, in that regards, they can always just put AJ Brown in the slot to go up against him,
and they will
make Coach here pretty happy.
Yep. So you have AJ Brown, you have CeeDee Lamb, right? You have Drake London if he's healthy. All these guys are on the schedule, and you've got AJ Brown twice and CeeDee Lamb twice, and guys like that they're going to have to deal with. So
George Pickens and Mike Williams Sunday.
Yeah, Mike
So-
Williams is a monster if he's healthy as well. So yeah, this is a move that is going to help this defense, whatever is best for what Joe Witt wants them to do. And it's also interesting that Dan Quinn's defense, look, they want to play man-to-man coverage. That's what they want to do at almost all times. When you look back at Dan Quinn's record in the 3 years that he was defensive coordinator in Dallas, they played man-to-man the third most times, the ninth most times, and the third most times in his 3 years. This year in Washington, they played man-to-man the 19th most times because they don't have the personnel to do it. Now they got the personnel to do it. Now Joe Witt and Dan Quinn can run the type of defense they want to run, not what they have to run. They've done a brilliant job of covering up their shortcomings, of covering up Sanistrill being too small on the outside and BSJ not being, or, being on their number one receiver most of the times. They've done a brilliant job of covering that up. Now they don't have to, and they can do whatever they want. And oh, by the way, Marshon Lattimore hasn't given up a touchdown in single coverage in 3 seasons.
Yeah.
In 3 seasons.
Since
Now,
2021.
Now he hasn't played as many games.
He did miss
24
19
games. That's a season and a half worth of games.
Yep.
That's still wild, though.
Hasn't given up 1 touchdown. And so they got the guy that's going to fit what they want to do. He's a dog, right? He's got all the physical attributes. He's got the mentality that they're looking for, right? And it's just hopefully going to be a perfect fit. And let me know when you're ready, Nathan, because I got the other side of it too.
Oh my God.
Somebody has to do it, Trev, because I know you guys won't do it. Somebody's got to be the bad guy, and he's got to give you the other side of it. And you just
we'll get to that here.
I didn't think there was one.
In
of
a
course
moment.
there is. There's always.
Now, one of the things you did bring up earlier, Stoner, was the lack of pass rush from the Washington Commanders. Trav, you mentioned some of the run game earlier, but I want to focus mainly on this pass rush. Is it possible we can finally have what is known as a coverage sack? Meaning that our cornerbacks actually did their jobs for long enough that the QB didn't have an option, and our pressures, which are high in numbers, not high in finishing, finally make it home. Are we going to see more coverage sacks here for the Commanders?
I think so, because our D-line definitely has taken a blow with the Jonathan Allen everything, but they've been holding their own. It's still been, like you said, getting pressures. They just haven't finished as many sacks as we would like, but we're doing that with that crew back there already. So I think this is going to just help out the defensive line and maybe take the focus off needing an edge rusher, as Stoner so blatantly pointed out at the beginning of the show that we need. Maybe that can cover that up until we address it in the offseason, that we can get by with that. Like, cover sacks are I think sometimes better than other sacks, because you give every quarterback has escapability for the most part, and I think if you just straight pass rush him, he'll escape and find somebody open. But if he has a clean pocket and nobody's open, that pocket's going to collapse sooner or later, especially if your D-line is capable of collapsing the pocket anyway. It's going to be a lot easier to do that if he's just standing there and the pocket shrinks because nobody is open. Like, nobody's open. So, Marshon Lattimore definitely brings that to us. We're going to see a different defense, I think, the moment he straps up for us. And if it's Sunday, that scheme is going to be different. I think the attitude is going to be different. I think the tackling is going to be it's going to be a whole new attitude on the defensive side. And we already have Bobby Wagner and Luvu back there that were pretty much the captains of the ship for that defense. And we see how they're playing like lightning out of a bottle. Now you're bringing a dog like Marshon Lattimore, who's not scared of any kind of smoke. He wants all smoke.
Yeah.
And that's going to translate, because Joe Witt's that type of coach. You can see in his press conferences.
Right.
He wants all smoke. This defense is going to look brand new, and it's going to be crazy. I mean, we already have the 5th pass-ranked defense in the league with Dorrance Armstrong, Deron Payne, Johnny Newton, and Dante Fowler, an aging Dante Fowler. And we already have the 5th pass defense with BSJ, Percy Butler, Jeremy Chin, Mikey Sandistro, and Noah Igby. So it's like, just imagine where the defense is going to go now, just because of one guy. And it's
they certainly have not played a murderer's row of quarterbacks.
Sure.
So.
No, but they're all professional quarterbacks.
They have faced, however, 3 Heisman winning quarterbacks?
Well, they have
Joe Burrow.
3 Pro Bowlers. We 2024 Pro Bowlers. Burrow, Lamar, and Baker are all definitely Pro Bowlers. So they have, but 3. That's 3 out of 9. The other 6 are, a little shaky.
I haven't looked at Kyler Murray in a while. Is he not having that good of a season after?
Nah. He's making Marvin Harrison forget that Marvin Harrison's in the league.
Yeah.
But
you know what? You mentioned it earlier, Trev, too. And I think it bears repeating and stressed a little bit, is that what that does is allows the defense to play a little bit differently, and that they can bring a safety into the box more often.
Help that run defense out.
Right, to help the run defense out. So this move should also help the run defense as well as help the pass defense. I saw plenty on Sunday of Chin, Butler, and Martin all out there at the same time. And it was effective when the 3 of them were out there, but they couldn't do it enough because they were always trying to cover Malik Neighbors, always having a guy over the top of Malik Neighbors. Because, BSJ can't cover Malik Neighbors.
No.
But let's just say,
you can run with them.
As an example, you have Lattimore over there on Malik Neighbors, just using the last game as an example. Butler can be up there right next to Frankie Louvu and can help with the run game. And I think that's a big factor with this. So it helps. It helps not just the pass defense, which I think is going to be a huge help, but it's also going to help the run defense as well.
Sure. I'm also just looking at Quan Martin off the edge blitzing.
Our defense is going to be exotic as you know what now. Like, it's going to be crazy.
Yeah, because they can play a lot more man-to-man like they want to do. And just look at what they did in Dallas, what Joe Witt and Dan Quinn were able to do with the right personnel in Dallas, and how good that defense was for 3 years. And they were excellent for 3 years. Now you look at them and they're like, Trayvon Diggs is terrible. And Micah Parsons never plays, and they don't get pressure, and Bland is completely forgotten, and all these things. But
they cut a guy who they traded for in the offseason.
Yeah, exactly.
So all right. So Trav, you mentioned Wagner, Chin, Jayden Daniels, all these guys, really excited to have a guy like Marshon Lattimore come on the team. And so we should be full of excitement with these people, but we do have a coworker who wants to be negative.
No, that's not fair. That's not fair. Somebody has to give you guys a realistic point.
Do you though?
Yeah, you do, because somebody has to do it.
All right, let's hear the other side.
Okay.
Right.
Now you know the rest of the story.
Of course, there is that injury concern, which we've already talked about, right? Otherwise, when he's on the field, there's nothing to be concerned about with his play. There's nothing. There's nothing that you can look at and say, well, he lacks a little bit here. Well, he may not be good. Well, maybe he's a little bit older. Well, there is none of that. Everything lines up great for this. The only thing that concerns me, and again, I'm 100%, not 99%, I'm 100% in favor of this trade and love this trade. This is a guy you don't know how he's going to fit in the locker room. Okay? The biggest change in this entire team and organization is the culture, is the vibe, is the brotherhood that you hear from them. And this just has a chance to potentially upset that brotherhood, because he's not a guy that this head coach and GM have put their full research and study into.
Yes.
Right? They've done their research, of
They
course,
did their due
but
diligence.
not the same due diligence you put on when you're in the off season and you've got months to.
When you're courting free agents, do you have a lot of like interviews with them?
With the players that you're looking at signing?
Free agent, yeah. When you're looking to sign a top free agent, do you get a lot of one-on-one interview time with those?
Absolutely, you do. Absolutely, you do. And of course, the draft. You want to draft the right guys. There's no reason. There are no red flags. There are no red flags that we've heard about Marshon Lattimore, right? Fitting in. But you're just bringing in somebody, a cornerback one, a guy who's going to start day one, that you're going to depend on greatly. How is he at communication? How is he at vibing with the brotherhood? All of that is just the only concern that I have that we always have to at least bring into our brain. I'm not saying there are any red flags. I'm just saying you have to look at all sides of it. That's all.
You do, but I am not going to look at that side because I already looked at that side at the beginning of the year when he brought in over half of a new roster that we've never seen before ever. And they've never played together ever until then.
They did their due diligence on those guys.
Right. And I think they did their full due diligence on Marshon. They just met him today when he got to the facility. But I think they
never met the guy, never talked to the guy.
That's fine. They might have never,
they've talked to everybody else before
they could have talked to his agent. They could have talked to New Orleans Saints.
They talked to Terry McLaurin, who was Lattimore's college, teammate.
Yeah,
according to Locked On Law, Peters and Newmark did that.
Again, I'm not giving you a red flag. I'm just saying that there's potential out there that you can upset what has been determined to be a fantastic locker room, a brotherhood.
I think they're embracing it as a new thing, like they have this whole entire season as being a new thing.
Yeah,
from the top down. So I do see what you're saying, but I'm not going to look at it like that because I trust the front office, and they brought a bunch of dogs together, and we're one big dog pound right now. And you just got another one because we're tired of losing. The holdovers that are here, the ones that they asked, St. Just, Terry, Diami, we're tired of Cosme. We're tired of losing. So this is all still part of building the culture that DQ and Joe Witt and everybody wants to have. And DQ has seen this guy he was in the division with them for a few years before he got fired in Atlanta. So he's got a good look at him too. So I trust it. Yeah, there is always a potential from that, but we've had that potential since day one with all these new hits. So if it wasn't a good fit, I don't think they would have done that.
Yes, I agree. I think
don't bring there are no
signs.
Scared business to me.
I just want it to be out there that there is.
Maybe we need that. We need that.
I think I might actually have the sad trombones. Do I? This Debbie Downer here. Stoner having to try to take the mood down.
Somebody's got to be the villain.
Sure, there's always got to be. As high as we are on his playing ability, okay, and I'm not even going to get to the availability because I know that's probably your thing is hogwash. His availability is probably the biggest concern, right?
Yeah, that's a concern.
To be honest, even as good as he is, just because he is a very good player, a true CB1, we're all excited to see him on the field, but that doesn't actually mean that he's going to translate to a CB1 here.
Yeah.
It could be that he struggles to learn the Joe Witt defense, and Joe Witt doesn't learn how to best use him. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's a possibility. Sure. Right.
Now everybody attack Nathan like I've been attacked because he said
Nathan, don't bring that scared business to me.
Right. Everybody in here saying I'm being a Debbie Downer and all that.
And the only reason why you're saying that also is because of the William Jackson deal too, I think.
Sure.
Same thing. Lockdown.
Josh Norman would have been another corner who was a strong corner before coming here. William Jackson, a strong corner coming here, didn't perform. Fuller as a Super Bowl winning one that we had traded away. He got a Super Bowl, came back, and Trev hates that guy.
Yeah, he couldn't do anything for us, but once he goes to Kansas City, balls out.
I'm looking forward to Trev not having to bring up Benjamin St. Juice.
Bro, I can't wait either.
Right.
And
Dollar says our defensive pass interference penalties to go down immediately.
I wonder
Where the average.
Where does Washington rank in defensive pass interferences in the league? Is that something we have access to, Nathan? Do you know, in terms of a stat?
We might be able to look it up. I can look it up if you guys continue jawing at each other.
Well, because Trev never wants to hear it. It's not a downer.
What if he hurts the brotherhood? What if he doesn't want to hold our hands and sing kumbaya with us?
Yeah.
NFL, not for long.
Right. They built something really good, really positive in that locker room. And you just never know how a new guy. Now, it's a lot different than, say, you're going to bring in a guy from the outside who's going to be signed to the practice squad or whatever. But when you're bringing in a cornerback one with a lot of expectations on him, that's a little bit different story. So it's not negativity. It's just
all right.
It's just a way to look at things.
Here we go.
I have the stats. It sounds like Trev just found it as well.
I think on the football database.
Has
I'm on the football database.
Okay, that's probably a good one too. But I have NFLpenalties.com, which has this is fantastic. The information that they have here. Okay.
Yeah, mine can break. Yeah. Okay.
They have Washington. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. In 9 games, they have had 8 defensive pass interference penalties.
6th worst or 6th best?
6th worst. This is they have the 6th highest.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
They have lost 104 yards off of those.
Off of 8 of them? That's a lot of yards.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, against. By the way, they have been the beneficiary of 5 and gained 126 yards off of that. The most, for the record, Detroit with 12.
Wow.
In 8 games, one less game. They've already had their bye week. 163 yards lost there. The Jets with Sauce Gardner, 183 yards lost. And they've had 2 that have been dismissed.
And the Jets have the number 2 pass defense in the NFL. And
that's by yardage allowed?
By yardage allowed.
Yeah.
And they also have the second most pass interference calls.
Yeah. Yeah, they're tied for the second because Denver. Pat Surtain out there. They have 10 defensive pass interference for 169 yards.
Yeah, and look where Denver is ranked in yards given up in the pass game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6th in the league. We have pass yards given up. So I don't know. Those
54 total defensive penalties. For number.
Where does that rank?
18.
18,
so right in the middle, pretty much.
Yeah,
that's for 411 yards. That's it. The highest number is 74, and that's Seattle. And the lowest number is tied with 41 between Arizona and Cincinnati. And the Chiefs have 42.
I don't feel like those correlate very well to wins and losses too much.
No, they don't. Like because we're 7-2 with those 8 DPI. So you're right. But I think I don't think that goes past 5. That's 8 and 9 games. That's almost 1 a game. I don't think we'll go past 12 after when Marshon steps on the field.
Only 4 more the rest of the season?
Yeah, I'll take the over.
Yeah, I'm taking the over too. I'll take that dollar. Put it down. Put it down. We got that dollar. Okay, so pass interference penalties aside, the big question for Marshon Lattimore will be, is he playing this week against the Steelers? We'll be talking about that here in the cool down. Stay with us. welcome to the cool down here on Ref the District. I would be very upset with myself if I went any further into the cool down here without mentioning that the game, our discussion about Marshon Lattimore, was brought to you by Don't Sleep Energy. You can head over to don'tsleepenergy.com, use the code district to get yourself 10% off. Support a local business by giving yourself energy and saving a little money while you're at it. They have normal energy drinks. They have sugar-free energy drinks that we like here on Ref the District. And I'm especially fond of their energy shots. Get that little boost as you're ready to watch some games or you're taking care of the family and you need something for a long weekend. We all know, we've all been there before. Don't Sleep Energy has you covered. Just use that code district on their website. Get yourself 10% off your entire order. Don't Sleep Energy. It makes you great. And this team, 7-2, looking great, facing off against another 2-loss team. Probably the biggest challenge Washington's faced up to this point. And it seems like we say that every week, right? It was the Bears defense is going to be the greatest challenge. It was, you're going to good offense, that we're going to have to stop. Is like the Baltimore is like the real one. Yeah. Every week we're going in and like it's a playoff game and we need to show up here. Now, our new toy, Trev.
Yeah.
Are we going to see him? Are we going to see Marshon Lattimore? Do you have the injury report handy?
I do. He was a DNP with a hamstring. I think that came out before the report came out that he was not going to practice. But I have a feeling it's like that Devontae Adams hamstring injury. He missed 2 games. As soon as he got traded, the hamstring was healed. So, and he played that Sunday. So, and then I kind of pay attention behind the lines of press conferences, and Dan Quinn quickly said they're trying to get him up to speed as quick as possible, aka so he can play Sunday. So yeah, I think he will play Sunday. I think that they made this move as late as they did because of who we're facing the next few Sundays. We've got George Pickens and now Mike Williams. Then we have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and then we have CeeDee Lamb. No matter who's throwing them in the ball, that we play that game. So yeah. I think he's trending up to playing Sunday. Wednesday is kind of the first official report that comes out, so you don't really take too much stock into it, but it is some things to catch your eye. Just like Austin Siebert is on the injury report with a right hip injury. He was a DNP today. Yeah. I'm actually more concerned about that than I am of Marshon Lattimore's hamstring injury, to be honest, because he's been an automatic weapon for us this season. And to have him go in not healthy, it's the kind of game we're facing, the kind of opponent that will come down to kicking. So that's something to pay attention to. Everybody else is limited. Dorrance Armstrong, Tyler Bidiosh, Kaleem Farrell, Dante Fowler, and B-Rob is back to practicing again. Scott Abraham asked him, is he going to play Sunday? He said, it's really up till game time, and I'll let you know from there. So look for another game time decision for B-Rob coming up. And then a good sign for Darian Mathis. He was a full participant today because he passed a concussion protocol evaluation on game day that he got injured. So yeah. I think he'll be good to go coming up Sunday. But, yeah, 2 major concerns. Marshon Lattimore, obviously, the hamstring, and then Seibert with the right hip injury, which is not good for kickers either. That's kind of the whole motion. So, yeah, but to answer your original question, I do, in my heart of hearts, think he will play Sunday for us. We need him.
I do $1. I don't think he's going to play this week. It's Thursday already. So he's going to practice Thursday and Friday and then play Sunday. I don't see it. Really? This is.
Oh, no. Are you about to say this is the game we can afford to lose? Are you going to say that?
Yes. That's exactly what I'm going to say. This is a game.
I'll see y'all later. Y'all have a good night.
This is an unimportant
I'll have a good one. I'm out.
I love how Trev knew exactly where you're going to go with that too.
This is a game that you can afford to lose. Not that you want to lose, not that you're trying to lose, not that none of that. You still want your best players out there as much as possible. But if a guy just got here, he's got a banged up hamstring, and he's going to get at most 2 practices with a defense that relies on communication. Give it another week, and then be ready for Thursday night, the short week, when you're only going to be able to practice maybe once. I don't even know if they'll practice at all. be ready for A.J. Brown and the Philadelphia offense, which is 10 times the offense that Pittsburgh is. So I'm just saying, I don't playing this week. That's all.
No. Doesn't 8-2 sound and act way different than 7-3?
Of course it does.
So that Philly is 6-2, right behind us.
I'm just saying, in terms of whether or not you're going to play this guy, the importance is on Philly, not on Pittsburgh.
I think you want to win every game.
You want to go into Thursday second in the division because we can afford to not give it our all and lose on Sunday.
You're changing the story. That's not what I said.
But you'll be okay with going into Philly on Thursday night primetime 7-3, and Philly beats Dallas, and now they're 7-2, and now they're ahead of us in division. You'll be okay with that?
I'm not okay with that.
So then you can't afford to lose on Sunday.
What I'm okay with is not playing Marshon Lattimore against Pittsburgh this Sunday. That's
what I'm saying. B-Rob? You going to play B-Rob?
Yeah, I'm going to play B-Rob.
Then why can't you play Marshon?
I just told you. He's going to walk in here on day one today with a banged up hamstring.
It's not like he's learning a different language. Everything is the same in the NFL.
What if it is the Adams hamstring thing? What if it was just kind of like a loser limp, if you will? Or is this like the team's bad, and so he's just like, yeah, nope, this hammy just not going to go?
Okay, that's a different story.
You're assuming the hamstring is a real injury, and he's going to have probably 1 day of practice at most.
Yeah.
Right? Because he's missed today. He'll have Thursday and Friday as practice time. We don't know if he's going to practice.
Which is perfect.
And then they're going to play Sunday. Then Monday's an off day. And then or Monday's a film day. Tuesday's an off day. Wednesday, they got to travel to Philly. And then you're going to play on Thursday.
Tuesday. I don't think Tuesday would be an off day. I wouldn't have an off day.
They might have to walk through. I mean, they had after the win against Chicago, wasn't it? That DQ gave them an extra day off.
Yeah,
was it Chicago that was, or maybe it was a different game, but DQ gave them a day off.
Okay,
I think that if he practices this week, then you'll see the field.
Okay,
but if he doesn't practice, then of course he's not going to. I know that's kind of a dumb thing to say. Like, oh, you score more points, you're going to win the game. But I think that will tell us what we need to know about his hamstring injuries. If he just is walking through practice and not a full participant, then I don't expect him to be out there for Washington.
Okay.
So, and I'm not trying to be tedious, but it does it's true. The Thursday injury report is pretty much the most important one. What if he practices Thursday and it doesn't practice Friday? Is he playing Sunday?
Well, why is he not practicing Friday if he practiced Thursday?
Maybe it's a game time decision.
Re-injured his hamstring.
His hamstrings bothering him.
Or maybe
him Sunday. Yeah, I'm
what
just
if he
saying.
Doesn't practice Thursday and practices Friday.
If the roles were reversed, if they were playing Philly on Sunday, then you're going to ramp it up a little bit more, and you're going to play him almost no matter what. But if it's Pittsburgh then Philly, then you might just want to give it a few extra days. That's all I'm saying. Nobody cares about Pittsburgh. We care about.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that.
Pittsburgh. We don't.
Now maybe okay. How about Stoner? What if Pittsburgh's record was like 4-4 or 5-3 or something that's not 6-2? Would you still sit Marshon? Would you sit Marshon then?
If they were 8-0 or they were 0-8, I don't care about Pittsburgh. I care about Philadelphia and I care about Dallas. That's what I care about because that's more important. Or even I care a little bit more about Atlanta and New Orleans.
So that makes zero. Now that makes zero sense.
Because it's the NFC and that's where all your tiebreakers are and where your playoff positions come into focus. They don't care about Pittsburgh.
You weren't saying that when we played the Ravens. It's just like the Ravens. This is a measuring stick game for us. Again, it is.
Okay.
Because we're 7-2. We haven't beat anybody for real, they said. So this is another measuring stick game. Whether or not they say it is out of their mouths, it is. And you don't want to play Marshon because, well, if he doesn't fit the brotherhood.
I didn't see you totally changing it. And
I love the stoner voice
With
that
the
you have
hamstring,
there,
it hurts
Trev.
a little bit.
How come
With
my
the
voice
hamstring
always
hurts
comes
a
off
little
as
bit.
whiny?
With a little bit of an injury.
By the way, Pittsburgh hasn't beaten anybody either. Their best
Exactly
win is
why
Atlanta.
we got to win this game because they got
Their
TJ
best
Watt
win
though.
is Atlanta. They've beaten Denver. Maybe the Chargers. I guess the Chargers are pretty good. They've beaten Atlanta, Denver, the Chargers, the Raiders, the Jets, and the Giants.
What's the you tabulate up the win-loss record of those and compare it real quick while I give a shout out here to Edmund for the $5 super chat donation. We appreciate you, Edmund, as far as that. So big knock on Washington so far has been the schedule. It is against a group of teams that have a combined losing record. In fact, even though Chicago was a winning team at the time they beat them, currently the only team with a winning record that they've beaten is the one that they just play, or not the Giants, but it would have been they beaten one team with a winning record. Someone help me out. Who was
when they played them?
Was it just the Chicago?
Just Chicago is when they played them.
Yeah,
Yes, I think Arizona might be over 500 now or at 500 something.
Now.
But when they played them, Chicago is the only team with a winning record.
That's what it is. Yeah. So what is the tally there, Stoner, for the Steelers?
I'm still tabulating here.
Tabulating.
Giants at 2, and they beat Atlanta with 6. 11, 16, 18, 21, 23 wins of the teams they've beaten, right? And Washington, I mean, I don't remember who all they've beaten off the top of my head. They've beaten the Giants twice.
They beat the Giants twice. They beat the Bengals, the Cardinals, the Browns, the Panthers, and the Bears.
6. The Bears have how many wins? The Bears have 4, so that's 10. And they've beaten on the other side. They've beaten who? They've beaten the Bengals and Browns, so that's 6. 16 wins. Washington opponents have 16 wins. Pittsburgh has 23, and Washington has played one more game.
And we're number 2 in the NFC, baby. I love the way NFL works.
I love it. I'll take it.
And by the way,
week.
Mike Tomlin, 13-4 coming off a bye, and they are coming off a bye.
Yeah. Tomlin's a good coach. I always laugh every year when Steelers fans start turning on him.
I know, right?
Yeah, I know.
Up now, I'm happy with Dan Quinn, but I am way happier. I would have been happy before Dan Quinn if Mike Tomlin would have come available. That is 100% a move.
Oh, yeah. I'd have traded a first rounder for him.
Yeah, I mean he's a heck of a coach, and he comes here with Russell Wilson under QB. A little rematch or not, reunion is the word I'm looking for with Dan Quinn and Bobby Wagner. How do you guys think Russell Wilson's going to fare against this defense?
Man.
I think we faced an aging Russell Wilson before. Yeah, we did. When we had Sam Howell, we beat him.
Yeah, sure did.
I know he had that Hail Mary at the end of the game, which was old Russell Wilson, but I don't know. He's had a couple good games. He's got his confidence back now. He's a starting quarterback again. Guy's calf issue figured out, but I don't think he's the same old Russell Wilson.
He's definitely not.
I think if we can, we're gonna have to do some coverage sacks on this one. I think
he does not like to throw the ball away.
No.
If you remember when he was in Denver last year when we played him, and he just kept running around, and then Jamin Davis caused that fumble and turn that whole game around.
That's what I think.
He does not like to throw the ball away. He will just continue to run and run and run because he doesn't like what it does to his completion percentage.
Right. And also, but see,
so he'll take
now we're dealing with an offense that can have their way with us if they want to, running the ball or passing the ball. If Marshon Lattimore does not play Sunday, they can kill us both ways. They've got 2 really good running backs. I don't care what anybody says about Najee Harris. He might not have the gaudy numbers, but he's nothing to sleep on at running back. Jaylen Warren might not be as productive as he was last year, but he's still a name back there. It's kind of their 2-headed monster. And now Russell has a number 2 receiver with Mike Williams, who's a big body receiver. George Pickens is a big body receiver. And then they got Pat Freiermuth, who is Heath Miller Jr. out there. So this is going to be a true test.
What did you all think of them going from Justin Fields, who had them at 4-2, right? He had 10 total touchdowns and only 1 pick.
Yeah.
And they were winning 4-2, and they decided to make the trade. I thought that was really surprising, but they're a totally different offense with Russell Wilson.
I was going to say, I would have much rather faced Justin Fields because he's the more erratic quarterback. Yeah, he uses his legs a lot, but if you take away his legs, you got to force him to be a pocket passer, and that's not one of his best traits. It's kind of the reason why he's been bounced around a little bit in the league and benched everywhere and this and that. But yeah, with Russell Wilson back there, now they can operate like a true NFL offense. They can do whatever they want. Arthur Smith's a great offensive coordinator. So, yeah, I would rather play Justin Fields, to be honest. Not saying I'm scared of Russell, but Justin Fields gives you more of a kind of a 1 to 2 dimensional offense, while Russell Wilson provides
and it's
more.
Different this year with the defensive staff in Washington, but in prior years, those mobile quarterbacks have given Washington's defense fits. I mean, Daniel Jones is the greatest example about that. But I think the telling stat, really, there's 2 of them between Fields and Wilson, is that when Justin Fields was quarterback, they averaged about 21 points a game. And with Russell Wilson, it's over 31 points a game. Yeah. And it has to do, as far as what I can see, it has to do with when he throws the ball downfield. His yards per attempt and his air yards are just so much greater than what Justin Fields was doing. And that has made their offense obviously so much better.
Well, we don't watch a lot of Pittsburgh Steelers games, so we might not be the best people to talk about what to expect from the Steelers, but that's all right because we've got Mark joining us here from the Bleav Steelers podcast. We appreciate you coming on here to ref the district here, Mark, and letting us know about the steel curtain here as we have things moving along here. Sorry, taking care of a little one while we do the show. Mark, can you explain to us why you would have moved off Justin Fields, 4-2, 10-1 record? I know he said one of the best things you want from a young quarterback. He himself talked about how I just didn't play well enough to keep the starter position. But could you talk to us about the move to Russell Wilson?
Fellas, thanks for having me first off. And it's good to know we've got a whole ensemble of audience, people not just watching on YouTube, but in the flesh. And I hope all of you have already ordered your Marshon Lattimore jerseys after the news. I know the Commanders are going all in. The decision to go from Fields to Wilson, it's hilarious. Trev, I don't mean to pick on you here. I heard the exact same argument, except the opposite, like 2 or 3 weeks ago, where it's like, we can't go to Russ in year 13. He's cooked. He's in his mid-30s. His best years are behind him. And he's really been the difference maker the last 2 weeks. Now, is that Russell Wilson turning back time and finding the fountain of youth? Or is it the fact that you just beat up on 2 New York football teams that aren't very good? So, look, I'm really excited what I've seen with Russell Wilson. I think that he got a bit of a raw deal in Denver that first year, injured lat, torn lat muscle. Nathaniel Hackett was his head coach. And then last year, Sean Payton had to do the bidding of the Broncos front office, which still just doesn't make sense to me. He's trying to get one more contract. Justin Fields, who you give up a bag of potato chips to get, he's an NFL starter. Now, is he an all-pro? Is he a playoff caliber, Super Bowl caliber quarterback? No, maybe not. The fact of the matter is you're paying both of those players combined less than $5 million this season. And going into that and knowing that contractual value with how both players have played when they've gotten on the field this season, you would take that 10 times out of 10 versus bringing Kenny Pickett back and bringing Mitch Trubisky back and bringing Mason Rudolph back. So that's the thought process of, look, Russ was going to be the starter. He was a captain going into week 1, if not for the calf injury, but they bring him along. How this continues to play out is what was going to be the most fascinating part of the Steelers season for this. And I'll land here. Both of these players, both Fields and Wilson, only under contract for the 2024 season.
So does that mean that Pittsburgh is let's just say everything plays out as it has so far. 6-2. Let's say that turns into 12-5 at the end of the year. Playoff win, but get knocked out. Do you think Pittsburgh will then be in the market for the long-term quarterback, or just go with status quo because you've got obviously somebody who can run this offense efficiently and just continue to build around him in Russell Wilson at his advanced age?
I think you'd start with Wilson, but the question you ask is for what price? But this offense has looked as good as it has since Big Ben was doing his thing. And I'm not talking about the twilight years towards the end there, but when Ben was rolling with this offense, it's really opened things up. The connection that Wilson has with George Pickens has been really fun to watch the last 2 weeks. But again, a 2-game sample size, a lot of season left. If it goes well, Wilson's going to want a lucrative contract, but what is your price point? And then it's like, could we potentially bring Fields along because he's in his mid-20s? There's more upside there. You hope his best football is still ahead of him, whereas with Wilson, his best football is likely behind him. So there's a premium for quarterbacks in this league. Teams don't just let quarterbacks walk on the open market. And when they do, you tend to overpay for above average to maybe good quarterback play. But it's like you're either going to have to pay a premium for above average to good, or you've got to go to the draft because the best quarterbacks in this league just aren't on the open market. And if you do, you end up overpaying for a guy like a Kirk Cousins, who has turned things around a bit in Atlanta, but we've seen year after year after year after year. It's like if you actually want to win a Super Bowl and compete in the playoffs, you're going to need a dude. Like, let me flip this back over and ask you guys, like, are you guys already pumped that like Jayden Daniels fell to you at number 2 and you didn't even have to worry about Caleb Williams and the connection to DC and the connection to Cliff Kingsbury? Like, you got to be thinking you're lucky stars here.
Yeah. We're pretty excited. Yeah. And that's honestly, I was on that bandwagon at first of bringing Caleb here because of the connections that he has to his home and the Cliff. And then after watching the season unfold, I'm very, very, very happy with us grabbing Jayden Daniels. He was my number 2 as well, but was not my number 1. But just how they both are so different in the way they perform so far. I mean, Caleb is struggling in Chicago. Everybody thought Caleb had a better situation because he had Keenan Allen, Romeo Dubes, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift in the backfield. The defense was coming on at the end of the year last year, so they were really high on that. And then everybody thought Jayden was coming to a bag of potato chips and, he'd do his thing and have a roller coaster every year and everybody's new. But it's been kind of a role reversal. So I'm extremely happy that it's turned out that way. But I will admit I was a Caleb Williams stan before this. But, yeah.
Well, you know what the difference between Washington and Chicago is, though, is because Washington post Daniel Snyder cleaned house entirely. You had a blank canvas going into this year. With Chicago, and look, Justin Fields, he got a raw deal in Chicago. When his first NFL start came against the Cleveland Browns, Myles Garrett had 4.5 sacks in that game against an off-the-couch Jason Peters, who will go to the Hall of Fame, but he's in his 40s at this point. And he gets sacked 9 times in his debut. He got a raw deal in Chicago. The difference is Chicago didn't clean house, and now you guys might have ended the Bears season with the Hail Mary. I don't know what you're nicknaming it at this point, but you might have just flat out ended the Bears season given how tough their division is.
We're going to end a lot of people's seasons, I think. I mean, it's just it's new to all of us because obviously we haven't had this sort of success for 30 years. Any sort of sustained success is hopefully on the horizon as well. But this is all just so new to us that it's our time now, and we can start talking smack and start talking about we're getting this coach fired and we're getting this quarterback benched and so on and so forth. It's just a glorious time to be a Commanders fan. But then you look back at on your side and with the Steelers, and you guys never have those down years, right? And Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season in what? This is year 18, I believe it is, right? How is it that he's able to do that with that group of quarterbacks that you even mentioned, Trubisky and Rudolph and Kenny Pickett, for crying out loud, is a terrible quarterback? How does Mike Tomlin do it year after year after year?
Stoner, you hit the nail on the head. And Steelers fans might not want me to say this, but I'll let you in on a little secret. Spoiled.
Yeah.
spoiled.
Yeah, you're
And
spoiled.
he's able to make up discrepancies. I started hosting Bleav in Steelers in the 2019 season. Ben Roethlisberger goes down with season-ending injury. You had Mason Rudolph very young in his career, wasn't very good. End up getting benched for the guy who is the fourth quarterback on the roster to start the season in Duck Hodges, undrafted because the Steelers traded away Josh Dobbs, and they still went 8-8. I don't know how, but they still went 8-8. Now, the lack of playoff success is what recently is what Steelers fans are frustrated about, because you get in and you get smoked. There's going to be a year, though, where a 7 seed goes on a run, because I look back to 2005 when the Steelers were the first 6 seed to go on and win a Super Bowl. There's going to be a year we see a 7 seed do it, but you haven't had the recent playoff success, in particularly in the AFC. This isn't the same football we had 20 years ago where you could get by with a quarterback that just was below average, just wasn't very good. In the AFC, week after week, all you have to do is look across the division in the AFC North. Cincinnati's got Joe Burrow. You got a 2-time MVP, maybe a 3-time MVP here soon in Lamar Jackson in Baltimore. Not to mention the Mahomes of the world, Josh Allen. I can go through the whole list, but they had to have somebody, and it's finally like, this is what the Steelers could do with someone who's at least even competent at quarterback. How Mike Tomlin's done it: ball control, stout defense, winning the turnover battle. If you can win the line of scrimmage and the running game, you can control the clock. It's an old school style of football. It hasn't won Lombardies in the last 10 to 15 years of having a defensive coach, but that's where I argue that Mike Tomlin's the victim of his own success. The highest draft pick in Mike Tomlin's tenure came in the 2019 season. The Steelers traded up to number 10 to get Devin Bush. That is the highest pick he's had in his whole run. A level of success he's had, like, I'll leave you with one other thing to show you how dominant Tomlin's been. We had the great John McClain on our show, writes for the Houston Chronicles, covered the NFL for 50 years. He told me, and he said, look, if the Steelers and Mike Tomlin ever parted ways, number one, he could get a job in a broadcast booth yesterday. But number two, there'd be one of the other 31 teams in the league that would offer him a job by sundown on the same day.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, for sure.
100%.
So, sitting at 6-2, do the Pittsburgh Steelers have an identity of who they are as a team, since you guys went through a quarterback change like mid-season? Or are you still trying to figure it out because of that quarterback change?
Great question. Offensively, I think you're still trying to figure it out. Can you put it together another week coming off a bye with Russ? Because again, the fan in me loves to see all of the points scored, but I'm like, the Jets aren't very good. The Giants aren't very good. So there's that. Offensively, still putting that together. And like, perhaps I have some PTSD from the Matt Canada era and an offense that just hasn't been very good for several years now. Defensively, though, and that's where the bulk of your salary cap is allocated. What level of the defense do you want to talk about? Dogs. And so it all starts up front. And you might say, oh, well, Mark going to go TJ Watt here. It actually starts A gap, B gap with Cam Hayward on the interior.
Sure.
And he's not talked about nationally and doesn't get the national acclaim, but all Steelers fans know where for TJ Watt to do TJ Watt things, you have to have that up front, A gap, B gap, between the center and guard. But, you know, if you're 1 technique, 3 technique, you have to have that up front and win the point of attack. And everything else with this defense starts with Cam Hayward and the foundation that he provides up front. Finally have the linebacker position correct, it looks like, because you bring Patrick Queen over from your rival in the Ravens from a year ago. You've got a great edge rushing duo with Watt and Highsmith on the outside. Watt, you've got to bring attention to. You got to chit. You got to give help with the tight end, with the running back. He makes teams' lives a living hell off the edge. And specifically what he does is something I'm honestly surprised I haven't seen more in the NFL. I could talk about him being a magnet to the football, but how the Steelers line him up is over opposing teams' right tackles. And the reason for that is most quarterbacks in the NFL are right-handed. If he can get in the face of quarterbacks consistently and get in their passing lanes, that's part of the reason he's been dynamic as he has as a pass rusher. I know a lot of times ends will get to the blind side of a quarterback, but Watt's ability to just get to the football, whether it's a strip sack, whether it's an interception, whether it's forcing a big sack in a key moment. There's a reason why most odds makers and betonline.ag is the sponsor of this show and my show. It's the reason that he's the favorite to win Defensive Player of the Year.
So we had a question come in from James earlier that I think is pretty interesting one because it's coming from a perspective we're not used to here. James asks, do you believe teams are starting to fear playing the Commanders? This is definitely a scary team to play now. Are the Steelers, our Steelers fans, a little worried about facing Jayden Daniels in this Commanders offense that has been very explosive and a defense that just got a new fresh face?
Nathan, I got you. So two standpoints. I think league-wide, the answer would be absolutely yes for what Jayden Daniels did. I mentioned Lamar Jackson earlier. I know Jayden's a rookie. He's got to be in that MVP conversation. I mean, I'm saying this as an outside observer of the Commanders, but just what he's done to where you're top the NFC East. There's still a lot of season left, but you have to be thrilled that you have him. So it starts from there. From the Steelers' perspective, two things. So from the team, when you've won championships, it's like there's a quote Tomlin had years ago where it's like, hey, regardless of who our opponent is, it's a nameless gray face. So from the team perspective, not really. But from the fan perspective, too, we're looking at this game like we have pretty good success against Lamar Jackson. I've got it in my notes here somewhere where the Steelers have won 7 of the last 8 against Baltimore, and Jayden is essentially Lamar Jackson. I think that's a little bit of an unfair comparison to make, and I think Jayden, honestly, even as a rookie, might be a better passer. I haven't had a chance to watch him as closely as of either of you, but if we mentioned Watt and Highsmith, right? Like, I think their alignment might be a bit wider in this game to be able to keep Daniels in the pocket because that's how they play Lamar, and they've had success against Lamar, where those traditional passing lanes that you have as a pass rush, there's an old slogan, you lose contain, you lose the game off the edge. And I think that I'm going to be really curious to see, do the Steelers kind of implement the same things and the same strategies that they've used against Lamar, given Daniels' running ability, which is how I would comp him to Lamar Jackson. Is he Lamar Jackson? I don't know. I mean, he's, again, bigger sample size, and I actually think he's a better passer of the football. That's my 2 cents.
You should watch a couple of passes just from this Giants game. And it is the opponent, but just the precision Jayden Daniels has with the ball is insane, especially as a rookie, having only played 9 games so far.
Yeah, his completion percentage is well over 70%. So that's really
as a rookie.
Yeah, as a rookie. It's not a dink and dunk offense either. He throws the ball downfield at a higher clip than most quarterbacks. But my question for you is Marshon Lattimore here in Washington. We're not sure with the injury. We're not sure with whether or not he's going to practice. But Pittsburgh made a big splash at the trade deadline as well, getting Preston Smith and Mike Williams, one on each side of the ball. What are the chances that you're hearing as far as them being able to play, being healthy enough, and then being ready to play Sunday against Washington?
I hope Mike Williams can play almost immediately because I thought he might actually even be on the Steelers before these two teams played a few weeks back because Devontae Adams, it was like, oh, I'm not going to play against the Steelers, a member of the Raiders. Oh, I'm going to play the Steelers as a member of the Jets. And remember, Aaron Rodgers took a lot of flack for saying, oh, Mike Williams ran the wrong route. And it's like, hey, come to Pittsburgh. We need help because other teams are bracketing George Pickens. We need all the help we could get offensively because we just don't have the pass catchers on this roster. Like, fellas, if we're playing Madden and we've got the sticks, there's not a receiver on the Steelers roster outside of George Pickens that strikes fear in your heart. So we could use him like yesterday, Stoner, to answer your question for Mike Williams. You mentioned Preston Smith as well. It's, to me, that's depth because Nick Herbig is coming back from injury off the edge. Bleav it was a hamstring injury with him. You cannot rush that. So you love TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith on the field, but you need a blow. You need to say, hey, for maybe a series or a several plays, they can get their wind on the sidelines for key moments in the game when you really need them. So for me, that's a move to where you get more depth and he can get into the rotation to make sure that both TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith stay fresh.
You hear that, Trev? You can't mess with hamstring injuries.
We don't even know how serious it is. It's probably not that serious. It's Devontae Adams all over again. You'll see. So,
are you talking about today? Go ahead.
Lattimore's.
No, I'm talking about Lattimore's hamstring. Yeah, I think he'll be like Devontae and play Sunday. But how did the Washington Commanders beat your Pittsburgh Steelers after everything you said that kind of put a little bit of fear in the Commander land over here with the TJ Watts and the Highsmiths and all that? I would
go to what the Colts did and what the Cowboys did, and to be able to run the football. The one thing with this defense is teams have been able to run it a little bit. And you could, if you could beat, it's a cliche, but you win the turnover battle and you win the ground game, in particular the two. Time of possession's big because, and this is something where Russell Wilson's been a bit of an X factor the last 2 weeks, because it was like, whoa, 30 plus points of offense. We haven't seen this in years for Pittsburgh. But to me, it's, can you take them out of that with the one weakness with this defense is teams have been able to run the ball a little bit. That's a little bit scary to me. Now, a lot of times with Pittsburgh, it's been bend but don't break. And even in that win against the Giants, it was poor red zone efficiency, which did the Giants in. They actually did move the ball with Daniel Jones and company. But that, to me, where get the ground game going and look, I know you guys love Jayden Daniels. Don't put too much on him as a rookie, specifically because this defense can be scary, to where playing with the lead is something that I'm not accustomed to seeing. But when you get into, hey, we must pass situations in games, and you're chasing not just the score, but the clock, that's where TJ Watt and company thrive, because then they've got you in the situation exactly where they want to be defensively. So all these things are cliche. It's like, well, Mark, no duh, score more points than the other team.
Right.
But in terms of the style of football, the Steelers style of football is something that is really timeless, if I had to put it in a sentence.
Well, one last one here for you, Mark. The last time these two teams beat, no one gave Washington a chance against an undefeated Steelers team that looked pretty good with the Ben Roethlisberger kind of resurgence end of his career there. How do you see this game going, where Washington's actually favored at home?
Nathan, I want to answer your question, but wasn't that the game where it was like, before it started, Mike Tomlin was talking with, was it Chase Young on the sidelines?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, we don't draft high enough to get a guy that looks like you. And he's just laughing at him. I think it was that exact game.
It was. Yeah, it was like a Tuesday or Wednesday game because of COVID or something like that, right. Or a Monday afternoon or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Nathan, what was your question? But you brought back something I haven't thought about in a while.
I wouldn't want to think about Chase Young either. I wanted to know, how do you think this game is going to go? Who you picking? Washington's favored by BetOnline by 2.5. So not really the home field advantage that you would expect, but they are favored. How do you think this game's going to play out?
I hope your viewers have mercy on me, and I'm probably going to dig my own grave here and never be invited back on your program. I'll take the Steelers coming off a bye week. You're more well-rested. You've got time to prepare. And again, the comp I make, and it's not an exact comp, but the Steelers have played a similar style of quarterback in Lamar Jackson, as good as any team in the league. I'm really curious to see what that chess match looks like on Sunday. I will take the Steelers, let's say 24-21 against Washington, but we'll see. I cannot wait for this game, because you have two teams top the division that are now vying not just to make the playoffs, but for playoff seeding, potential home field advantage when it comes to January football, which I know you guys are really excited about, just from what you've seen with this team led by Jayden Daniels and company. Hey, I got to ask you guys too, though. I got you here too. Defensively, who do the Steelers need to look out for? Because we talked plenty about the Commanders' offense and what they've done offensively. From the defensive side of the ball, who do the Steelers need to know? Or, hey, where's that guy on the field?
Marshon
Frankie
Lattimore
Louvu is number one. Is absolutely going to be the guy who you're going to want to watch. That's, Joe Witt Jr., the defensive coordinator for the Commanders, has talked about him and praised him. doesn't want to compare him to Micah Parsons, but they do play Luvu in a Parsons-like role. So he's going to be the one to kind of watch out. Of course, you have Bobby Wagner, the leader of the defense. Russell Wilson's familiar with him. One of our favorite things to watch, and you'll probably see it on Sunday, is Wagner. If Russell Wilson checks the play and goes to an audible, Wagner's going to go up to the center. He's going to hear it, and he's going to call the defense and put them in the right spot.
He's been doing that a lot this year. The linebackers, and you probably don't know a whole lot of history here in Washington in the last 4 years, have had really bad linebacker play. And then all of a sudden this year, it's one of their strengths, as Nathan said, with both Bobby Wagner and Frankie Luvu, who's all over the place. That's the strength on the defense. We don't have great edge rushers, but we are supposed to stop the run well with excellent tackles, defensive tackles. But the linebackers are where the strength of the defense is right now.
I love how you guys get the cast-offs of the other teams where it's like, oh, Carolina doesn't want Frankie Luvu, a really good player. Cool. Oh, Bobby Wagner's got nothing left in the tank. Yeah, right. Let me just add to my future Hall of Fame case.
Yeah.
53-man roster. We turned over 30 guys from last year. We, like you said at the beginning, we cleaned house.
Well, it was the salary cap space too. They went into the offseason where they had the most salary cap space of any team. So it's like new ownership, new GM, new coach on down. And it's just like, let's just paint a portrait. We got a blank canvas.
Yeah. Same next year too. We got I think almost $100 million in cap space for next year too. So
it's a good time to be a Washington fan right now.
Very good time to be a Washington fan, even if Mark picks the Steelers over the Commanders.
Have mercy.
Well, Tommy here, one of our mainstays here, actually has a feeling Stoner's going to pick the Steelers too, and he tends to be our Debbie Downer here, so he probably will do that when we get around to our picks. Mark, we appreciate you coming on here for Ref the District. A lot of good insight coming for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Should be a fun game and Landover. We know Steelers fans travel. FedEx, there's a dollar in the jar. Northwest Stadium tends to be pretty welcoming to opposing fans. However, the team is planning on giving everybody burgundy towels. So your yellow towels will be gold towels on Sunday. It'll be burgundy and gold for the entire team. So it'll be a fun matchup between these two loss teams.
Yeah, we do the same thing in Pittsburgh because it's Acrisure Stadium now, but everyone knows it as Heinz Field. And then before that, the old Three Rivers Stadium. So listen, it's just the confusion. It's like it's all synonymous. It's like just show up same time, same place on Sunday, and let's play some football.
Love it.
Well, you can catch Mark over on the Bleav Network, the Bleav in Steelers podcast. So if you ever need to know anything about those black and yellow, the steel curtain, all their other fantastic names, Mike Tomlin led team. Love Mike Tomlin. Don't like the Steelers. Hoping we win on Sunday, but appreciate you jumping on here with us on Ref the District, Mark.
Fellas, thanks so much for having me, and check your tweet replies come Sunday. I can't wait for the game. Thank you so much for having me and deal with my crazy schedule.
Yes,
all right. Appreciate you, Mark.
Have a good one, Mark. We are now going to wrap up things with our own game predictions. Stoner, why don't you lead us off since Tommy called you out?
Yeah.
Tommy knows me too well because I'm definitely going with Pittsburgh in this game.
Yeah,
because they're coming off a bye, 13-4, Mike Tomlin's record coming off a bye. Pittsburgh is 6th in time of possession offensively. But one thing that he said about their defense, about the Steelers' defense, and that they have trouble stopping the run, well, they're actually 4th in the NFL in stopping the run. So I think they're pretty good at it. What they don't do actually very well is stopping the pass. And that's where Washington can hopefully exploit them. But this Steelers defense is always very good. They're plus 10 in the turnover ratio, which is 3rd best in the league. That's what they do. This is a well-coached team with coming off of a bye. I just think it's going to be Pittsburgh, and I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring game because both teams do like to run the ball and they do like to control the clock as much as they can. So I've got Pittsburgh at 21-20.
Well, that's a little unfortunate.
Yeah.
Silence from the crowd.
Trev, it's going to be 60 and clear skies
It's gonna be nice.
and Landover.
Yeah, I'm going Commanders 31-23.
Jeez.
Wow. Big win there.
TJ Watt scares me, and I need the offensive line to put on the performance of their life for this game. Yeah, we went against Baltimore's defense, but they didn't have as many scary faces like the Pittsburgh Steelers does. TJ Watt is a whole nother animal, a whole nother planet. And it's going to be a tough task for our right tackle, though. Andrew
It is
Wiley.
going to be, yeah, Wiley has some experience with him. We'll have to see how it goes. Mike is taking the Steelers 24-20. Ted 30-17 for the Commanders. Luis 30-20, close to your score there, Trev, for the Commanders. Coach Lombard 23-20 for the Steelers. B&W Trout Slayer 32-15 for the Skins.
Oh, wow.
Ted with his score and a $5 super chat says we will beat the Steelers. They are easy work. I don't know about that, Ted. This is going to be a good close game. I'm going to go 29-24.
Yeah, the good guys.
Steelers. I'm going to go with the Steelers this time. Trav, that means you're the lone wolf. Can we get a lone wolf howl?
Oh, I don't know if I have one of those.
Yeah, I think I deleted my howl.
I did not see that coming, Nathan. I did not see that coming.
Large in part, I think that they're a well-coached team. I think that they're coming off of a bye. They do well coming off of a bye. I think Washington has been playing with its food a little bit. They've had several good appearances by the defense, but they've also allowed teams to come back in the fourth quarter. So I think that it'll be kind of similar to the Baltimore game where we won't win, but we'll show people we're ready for the big time. Okay. We're not a pushover. We're no longer a team that you roll over.
Yes.
It's going to be a game where we're like Washington is probably in control for portions of it. You know, Baltimore, we were always trailing, but we were right there with them. This game, I have a feeling we actually might have the lead at portions, but it's just going to be kind of a back and forth game, large in part because I think Russell Wilson is playing much better under this offense than he was playing in Denver. And it's not the same Russell Wilson we faced last season in Denver. So,
Trev, is Washington going to go 15-2? Are they never going to lose again?
No, we are. But at some point, I want to beat a team where we're not supposed to beat a team. That'll get everybody's attention for real because I don't want to keep saying, well, we hung in there with them. That means we're not going to be ready for the big boys if we reach the postseason. So we gotta win some of these games.
And we do need to beat a team that is a real team. I agree with you there. We do. Yeah. We knew, and we're going to beat Philly the following week. And for the record, I try to pick the Lockdown Law. I will never pick the opponent. Never. You can use caps. Nice callback to the former guy. But I have to pick logically here. By the time game day happens, if we were still doing our play-by-play, you would know. I would tell you Washington's going to win this game because I always between Wednesday and Sunday always figure out how Washington is going to win. It's just the optimism. But right now, having had that discussion, trying to think objectively, I think the Steelers are a good team. I'm not going to say that they're a better team, but they are.
We can go 15-2.
Why not? Why not?
Our schedule says we can do it. If we beat the Steelers, we can definitely do it because we're not going to lose to the Saints or the Titans or.
Right, you got Saints, Titans,
Dallas.
Falcons.
We'll beat the Falcons.
Cowboys twice, Philly twice. Does that cover everybody?
Yeah, dude. We can
let's
easily
see
go
here.
15-2.
I set it up. So Steelers, Eagles, Cowboys, Titans, Saints, Eagles, Falcons, Cowboys. Yeah.
Yeah. So you've got your two division rivals twice, and then you've got three easy ones, essentially. I like Atlanta. I think Atlanta is actually pretty good. But New Orleans and Tennessee, I mean, you should kill them, but
yeah.
Hey,
Dakless Cowboys on a year where they look pretty ugly. Philadelphia with Sirianni, who they don't look very good despite only having a few losses themselves. They're a good team, but I'm saying they're still a good team, but they have flaws, very obvious flaws.
That's how I see the Steelers team. They're 6-2, but it feels like they're not really what their record is.
Yeah, they definitely haven't beaten a whole lot of juggernauts either. But man, I just always look at the Steelers as being the type of team that plays great defense, plays sound football, smart football, holds the ball, runs the ball, and just beats teams with their intelligence. With that coach, with Mike Tomlin, and they just beat you in ways that you don't see it coming. And next thing you know, they're 6-2, leading their division, having played two different quarterbacks. Neither one of them being the long-term answer.
We've been doing the same thing, except we've kept the same quarterback.
Yeah.
The better quarterback is going to be taking the field on Sunday.
Who we picking Sunday between Dallas and Philly?
Philadelphia.
I think Philly's going to just destroy them.
Do we want Philly to win so they can stay second in the division, or do we want Dallas to win?
Say that again, Trev. Sorry.
Do we want Philadelphia to win, or do we want Dallas to win to keep Philadelphia second?
You want Dallas to win. 100%.
I'll never pick
Philadelphia off your butt.
If you want to never in all caps, Dallas is going down. I can't pick them. Rockman here. Nathan, we are not the same team as in the past. I believe we will win Sunday. Like I said, we have with 5, we always have a chance. P-Dub here with the even bigger optimism. We're going to sweep Pennsylvania.
Oh, sweet.
How great would that be? 2 sweeps in the division. And of course, them beating a good Steelers team. That would be fantastic. Yep. Of course, we're going to be live after the game, so you can catch us there for our instant reaction. We're live every Wednesday here on YouTube and Facebook. We appreciate everybody jumping out and joining us here. Had 200 at one point. It's always good, always fun to have everybody in here. We appreciate all those people who gave us some super chat as well. As I mentioned, we'll be on Sunday after the game, so join the conversation there. And until next time.
Oh, kumbaya, hold hands, brotherhood. It matters, Trev. It just does.
Be a fan.